Hello everyone and welcome to the first meetup of Green Tech Southwest 2021. So I always feel like a news presenter when I say things like this. But yeah, welcome back. Happy New Year. Is it still too late to say that? I don't know. I never know when the cut-off is appropriate, but I don't ever want to seem rude. So Happy New Year. Can't believe it's already the 21st of January. Hope everyone is coping with this lockdown as well. I know it's not ideal, but hopefully we can bring a little distraction to you with a really great talk today. So a lot of you will have been here before and know the drill, so as always you are more than welcome to switch off, but for those of you who are new or need a little refresher, yeah, you're in the right place if you're looking for Green Tech Southwest. We'll get started at about 12:30, but just feel free to just run through some little bits and yeah, just get everyone acquainted. So yeah, my name's Ellen. I am one of the co-hosts and co-founders of co-hosts, I'm saying my talk show persona. I'm one of the co-founders and co-organisers of Green Tech Southwest. Feel free to introduce yourself. We've got some people who are regulars, we've got some new people, so I always think it's great to just drop your name in the comment section, which is just alongside there. Let us know, yeah, where you are, what you do, where you're tuning in from, and maybe what you're looking forward to in today's talk. And yeah, we just sort of get acquainted. We appreciate that we'd all prefer to be doing this in a sort of more physical setting than just online again, but so it just tries to create a bit more of a community feel and just see who we've got with us today. So as per usual, we'll be sort of kicking off around 12:30. There are various things that we sort of put out throughout the meetup or throughout the talks. For example, we will be uploading polls throughout the talks. They'll appear just down at the bottom of your screen. You'll get a little red notification. These will be relevant to the talk, and it's just always great to get a bit of idea of what you guys already know, and yeah, just what the results of those are. So yeah, we'll be sharing those. Keep an eye out for those. It's great to be able to take part of that. And then what we'll do is we'll make sure that these sort of answers are made available in any sort of follow-up. We also will be having a Q&A session at the end of the talk. So if you've got any burning questions, well, they don't have to be burning, they can just be regular questions too. But there's an ask a question section at the bottom. We'll try and make sure that we carry as many questions over from the comment section as well. But you know, it is helpful to have them in there. Just gives you a better chance of having them answered towards the end. So yeah, just try and if you've got any questions, just pop them in there. And then as well, what we usually do is there's always a really great engagement throughout the event in the comment section, which is really great. It's probably one of my favorite parts. So if there's anything that you think is useful, or if you think there's anything useful to share or interesting, or even if there's just some shameless self-promotion, we are absolutely here for it. So feel free to prop any useful links or anything that you want people to check out or get thoughts on in the comment section as well. After the event, I will go through all that and make sure that's all available to you in all the sort of follow-up, and then I'll make sure that all the files are available to be shared. What we do as well is we, as a community organisation, we love to be able to showcase some of the stuff that you guys are all working on. So we do a 60-second intro section or segment gimmick. If anyone has anything they'd like to share as well, we'll invite you on screen, and you just get 60 seconds to sort of talk about your project that you're working on or something that you need help with. If there's anything you want green tech related, really. So Hannah will go through that in more detail in a bit, but in case anyone hasn't sort of been along before, that is something that we do. So if you did want to sort of, get some thoughts in line, just giving you a little heads up. So great. So hi, we've got Peter who's just joined us. Hi Peter, thanks for coming. Just waiting a little bit, which we can see the room's slowly filling up now. But yeah, we'll probably kick off in about 5 minutes. Just a recap, if anyone's just joined us, hi, you're in the right place. If you're looking for Green Tech Southwest, welcome. It's crazy that this is our first, this is technically our 1 year and first year since our 1 year anniversary, which is pretty exciting. So yeah, who'd have thought that we'd still be doing it online, but obviously we are appreciating that how much more sort of range that gives us. So it has been positive, but yeah, crazy times. So yeah, just in case anyone's just joined, my name's Ellen. We feel free to dump anything in the comment section, introduce yourself, if there's anything you want to share, what you're having for lunch, what song, what you're listening to, whichever, just pop that down there. Just it helps us know who's here and makes us feel like we're all not just chatting to our walls. So yeah, really looking forward to today's talk. Been aware of Lettus Grow for quite a while, so yeah, this is definitely up my street. So really keen to hear what Lily's got to say. As again, for anyone who's just joined, if you've got any questions throughout Lily's talk, or if there's anything that you thought of beforehand, feel free to pop it down in the Ask a Question section. I'll just be at the bottom of your screen. We go through that, and we'll try and address as many of those in the QA section after Lily's talk. And then, if there's loads of questions, and that we've also said that we'll be able to stay on a little bit longer, just to get those answered. So obviously, if you need to run, we appreciate it's probably a lot of people's lunch breaks. That's fine, but also, yeah, we'll try and get through them as much as possible, and also make sure that the sort of questions and answers are made available to you after the event as well. Hi, Gary from, sorry, there's a little bit of stuff on my screen. I'm messing that I couldn't read that. Aileron Design, am I saying that right? I'm not sure. But hi, Gary, welcome to Green Tech Southwest. David as well, David Martin, hi. Thanks for joining, guys, and introducing yourself. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to get a good discussion going. Really, I'm feeling a bit rusty. I don't know, I know it's been pretty much the same length of time between this event and most of our events, so I don't know why I'm feeling such like a fish out of water, but yeah, I think the Christmas period just does something weird to your brain, doesn't it? So hopefully you've all managed to shake off the January blues so as much as possible. It is starting to get lighter, I've noticed, so that's definitely been a positive that I'm hanging on to. So yeah, I can see that we've already started sharing some links and websites and that sort of thing, so a lot of that will be happening throughout the event. So just going to reiterate for those who've just joined, if there's anything that you think is useful, or that you think the group will benefit from, like any links, resources, to materials, anything like that, I absolutely love it when that gets shared. It's just, yeah, really, really interesting stuff that usually gets sent around and stuff that I've not usually come across either. So if there's anything that you think would be useful, just pop it in the comment section, and then yeah, I'll go through at the end and make sure to just grab all the links and put them on the document to share to you guys. So yeah, just got about a minute to go. I'm just going to see if there's any other people coming to join before we kick off. But yeah, let's see, we've got about 30 people in there. So yeah, it should be a good event. I'm just going to appreciate quite a few people have to sign into certain things, so just going to make sure that everyone is ready with a cup of tea or whichever. Hi, Kevin. Thanks for coming and introducing yourself. You're working on a sustainable tech project over in Wiltshire. Amazing. Feel free to, if you want to drop the name of the tech project, or if you need any help with that at all, or I think it would be useful for anyone, feel free to drop a link or let us know what it is if you think people might be interested. It's always great to have that in there. Hi, Hannah, an illustrator and gardener turned UXer. Wow, that's definitely green tech. So all wrapped up in one. Thanks for joining, Hannah. So yeah, I'll probably be looking to get started soon. As always, yeah, and if anyone's got any issues with anything, or if something's not loud enough, or you're all frozen, as I said, feel free to drop it in the comment section as well. There's three hands on deck here, so hopefully one of us will be able to pick it up. But so yeah, just as Hannah said there in the comments, we do a 60-second intro section as well, which is just where, for anyone who's just joined, it's a section where if you have something you'd like to share with the group, or if there is shameless self-promotion or a project that you need help with, then you'll have the opportunity to be invited on screen and just have 60 seconds to sort of tell us a bit more about what you're about. Hello, see, I've been joined.
Hi, Ellen.
Hi.
Very, very good job there on dealing with that awful tumbleweed at the beginning of events. I always think I know you always say you feel like you're not sure if you're saying what you're saying, but it sounds good from me, from my point of view. So
I appreciate that.
good work. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we like to be on time, don't we? So shall we get going?
Yeah.
Do our best. All right, cool. And Mike's here as well. Hi, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at Green Tech Southwest today. We are just going to do a little bit of intros and stuff now, and that will just give the rest of the attendees a few minutes just to join us and get settled in. So, as Ellen said in her spiel, you are here at Green Tech Southwest today, so a big welcome to you all. Thank you for joining us. If you are on social media, we'll be tweeting snapshots of the event from our account, which is at greentech_swest. We're also on LinkedIn as well, using the hashtag greentechsw. And we do pretty good, don't we, actually, guys, at posting stuff throughout the month, interesting things that come up. So it's a good way to keep tabs on the Green Tech Southwest scene. This meetup is supported by AdLib, and unfortunately, Ellen, Mike, and myself are right over on my screen anyway. The logo in the corner. Whoops! Oh no, you're on the right. I moved you. Well done, me. So we're sponsored by AdLib, which is on the right-hand side of the screen. Mike and Ellen are both employees at AdLib. And we are also supported by the Future Economy Network, whose logo you can't see because we're in the way, and also Climate Action Tech. And if you haven't heard of Future Economy Network or Climate Action Tech, definitely worth you checking those two organisations out. Okay, so moving on. This is us. We're your co-organisers, Mike, myself, and Ellen. We just want to say a big hello and thank you for joining us today. In the past, we have done intros, but we've decided to chop those to keep things running a little bit quicker. But Mike and Ellen, as you're on the screen, is there anything you want to sort of jump in and say at this point before I move on?
No, all good. Just thank you for joining us and hope you enjoy it.
Awesome. Oh, Mike, very succinct. Awesome. Right.
I'm going to
Okay.
disappear now.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Mike. So for those of you that are new to Green Tech Southwest, a few words of introduction just so you have a bit of context around our group and what we do. So we aim to create a space to share insights and generate discussion about how technology relates to the environment. So at the moment, we're running a lot of online events for obvious reasons, and we try and cover a wide range of topics. A lot of our events do tend to focus on digital technologies, but today we're doing something different and we're looking at indoor farming. Our aim is to support a local community, and we have a very open and inclusive ethos. And both myself, Mike and Ellen, we're all very passionate about trying to make this community as welcoming and approachable as possible. We do have a code of conduct and a group constitution, and we will pop those in the meetup comments if you wanted to have a look. So essentially we focus our efforts on what's happening in the southwest of England, but we know we have a big membership from outside of the southwest of England, so London in particular. We've also got a growing membership base from America, and from other European countries too. So wherever you are joining us from today, you are very, very welcome to be here. We're very honoured that you've given up your time to come and join us today, and we really hope that you enjoy the talk as much as we think you're going to. So before we get into the talk, we have a slot called Community 60-second Intros. So we don't just want to be a one-way deliverer of information. Part of what we want to achieve with Green Tech Southwest is we also want to build up a community of people that are willing to help each other out or ask questions, get information, and generally contribute to the Green Tech Southwest scene. So let me present to you our Community 60-second Intros. So this is a slot where anyone in the audience can be invited to come up on the screen and do a quick shout out. So we're aiming for kind of like 60 seconds. So if we were in a room together, it would be kind of like the equivalent of standing up quickly saying, "Hi everyone, I've got something quick to say." So that's what this sort of section is all about. So the kinds of things that our members have shared in the past are things like a green tech project or initiative that's being worked on, a request for help or guidance, or perhaps a knowledge or resource that you've seen recently that you think might be interesting to the community today. Ellen will be in the background, busy jotting it all down, and we'll share your any intros with the wider community after the event today. So let's see, are we going to get tumbleweed moment, or are we going to get lots of people stick their hands up? We never quite know. So if you're interested in doing an intro, please let me know in the comments and we will invite you to the screen. In fact, I can see Gary has put his hand up to do an intro. So, and Niels as well, fantastic. So Gary and Niels and Hannah, all right, we're gonna invite you to the screen one at a time. So what should happen is that you'll see a little notification pop up on your screen saying, would you like to connect? And so, Gary, hopefully your internet will allow you to join us. Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Find out in a minute.
Okay. So, Gary. I've got an echo, so I'm not going to say much. Over to you.
Thanks. Might even be less than 60 seconds. Just very quickly, I co-founded and co-run a small product design consultancy based in Bristol. Really doing fairly well this year, growing fairly quickly. But myself, my business partner, both have a personal interest in trying to push the client base, I guess, more towards sustainable design, sustainable tech, and anything that's really has a genuine benefit to the planet or the local community. So we're keen to hear from anybody that is after product design consultancy support, either in a formal project sense or even just if they want a quick bit of chat about specific materials or specific manufacturing techniques, anything that we can do to help get involved, really. I can check our website link onto the chat when I'm done.
Fantastic, Gary. That's exactly what I was about to say. Please post away in the comments. Brilliant. Okay, thank you, Gary. That was perfect. That is exactly how we do 60-second intros. We keep them nice and short and then post follow-up information in the comments. So, Niels, we have sent an invite to you, so you're going to be joining us on the screen shortly, hopefully. As if by magic, he's appeared. Fantastic. So, Niels.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, welcome. Over to you.
Yeah, hi. I'm Niels. I have founded a tech startup that is trying to tackle one of the biggest frustrations for job seekers, which is not getting any feedback from employers. And for that, I've built a tool called Easy Feeds that automates the feedback process whilst allowing employers to be giving personalized feedback so that candidates can actually improve in the application stage, even if they haven't been successful. And I've got a proof of concept and I've established the business need, and I'm now actually looking for a co-founder to help me develop the product further. So I'm looking for anyone who has any knowledge in natural language processing or AI. So if you'd like to get in touch, I can put my email address in the chat.
Wonderful, Niels. Thank you so much. And you do quite a lot around sustainability as well, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen. Ecopreneurship.
Yeah. So
I think it's one of your things, isn't it?
Yeah. So in my daytime job, I'm at the University of Bristol, and I do research on ecopreneurship, on sustainable entrepreneurship. So if anyone wants to chat about that, hit me up as well.
Awesome. Thank you. What a great intro. Thank you so much. Okay, so I noticed quite a few people wanting to do intros. So Hannah, we have another Hannah. Hannah is just making her way onto the screen now. We can be in like a parallel universe because I'm obviously a Hannah too. That'll be fun. So Hannah's just on her way. If anyone wonders why I keep glancing down to my left is I have a separate screen down here that has all the admin info. So I have an idea of what's going on. So Hannah, hopefully your internet connection is strong and stable. I can see that you've accepted and connecting, and sometimes when it's a bit slow it might be because of internet. Here she is. Fantastic. Hannah, welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I am going to pass straight
Hi.
over to you to do your shout out.
Cool. So I'm an illustrator and gardener turned UXer, hopefully this year, looking for my first job. In the past year, I designed an app called Edible Space, which aims to help users choose the right food plants for their home. So they can input a bit about their space, skills and taste, and then it would recommend the best plants and help them solve problems. So it's all at the design stage, and I just thought I'd do a shout out if anyone is any developers or is potentially interested in getting involved in making, then that'd be awesome. I'll pop a link to the project online and my email address, and it'd be lovely to chat if anyone's interested. Cool. Thank you.
Awesome, Hannah. That was a brilliant intro, and your app sounds really, really interesting as well. So make sure you stick a load of links in the comments for us. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Hannah. Right, Hannah, we're going to say goodbye to you. And next up on the screen, we are going to bring our next community 60-second shout out. Everyone's feeling very vocal today. This is fantastic. Love it. So Andy Hawkins, we are just waiting for you to pop on the screen. In fact, I think you're there. Excellent. But Andy, we can't see you at the moment, so you might need to enable your video. I don't think we can hear you either if you're saying anything.
Yeah, hi there. I'll
Oh, I think Andy's not having good internet connection issues. He's not having good internet day because we've just lost him. Okay. Okay, so Andy, we'll try you one more time. I think after Andy, we will have Jonathan and then Gemma coming. And then I think we'll have to close that for community 60-second intros today, because we need to get on with the main event. Okay, so we've invited a couple of you to the screen, so hopefully we can get a bit of sort of a few of you joining us in synchrony. Is that a word? It is now, if it's not. Okay, so I'm just seeing. So Andy, we're still trying to connect with you. I think Mike and Ellen, if you're controlling things in the background, it might be good. Oh, brilliant. We've got Jonathan on the screen. I think we might also want to put an invite to Gemma as well. Right, Jonathan, welcome to Green Tech Southwest. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, I'm slightly different to everyone. So I actually work in food retail. So I work in the fresh produce team, and I'm looking to try and integrate more sustainable methods into our sourcing of produce. So yeah, I sort of work in sort of like tech based, so sort of looking to get more involved in AI side of things. So I know a few people have mentioned that, but yeah, just looking to make our produce a bit more sustainable and try and integrate some of the methods that people be using here.
Awesome, Jonathan. Thank you so much. And who are you allowed to say who you work for? I didn't.
Yes, I work for Lidl.
Lidl, brilliant. Yeah. All right, fantastic. Well, a big welcome to you. Thank you for joining us. If you have contact details or a way that you'd like people to follow up with you or make contact, you probably know the drill by now, right? Yeah. Chuck it in the comments, and everyone will be able to see that.
Okay, right,
fantastic. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Okay, and so we have two more to go. We have Andy still trying to connect. Andy, I suspect your internet is possibly not having a good day, which is why we're having trouble bringing you on the screen. We'll keep trying. But we have Gemma. who has joined us.
Hey everyone.
Gemma, welcome.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, I'm Gemma, and I just graduated from my human-computer interaction design master's degree, and I also co-founded a tech company in Hong Kong. And during my master's degree, like I did some speculative projects on like how to raise awareness between people in London and also like with the planting city. So there's a smart city project, and in the company that I co-founded in Hong Kong, we are looking into setting up company in UK and do more like visionary and sustainability related projects. And one of the projects that we are developing is to have a POS system that kind of help to reduce food waste. So that's why I'm really interested to learn more from you guys as well. And if you guys have any ideas or interest in the same topic, just give me a message after this. I will share my email here.
Gemma, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. And please put some links in the comments, because I'd love to find out more about what you've been up to. Sounds brilliant. Thank you. And where are you joining us? Oh, she's gone. That's probably a good idea, because we should get cracking, shouldn't we? So, Andy, I'm awfully sorry, but I think we are going to have to accept that we're not going to be able to get you on screen successfully today. You know the drill. Use the comments, and we'll make sure that we broadcast your what you were going to shout out to the group. Sorry about that. Bit of a pain. Internet, hey? I think, they say don't work with children and animals, and I think don't work with the internet is another one I'd like to throw in there. Anyway, Mike and Lily have joined us on screen. We are basically ready for the main event, so I'll shut up and leave you to it. And I can't wait to hear what you have to say, Lily. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you very much, Hannah.
Bye for now.
See you, Hannah. Thanks very much for joining us, Lily. We're all really excited to hear more about what Let's Grow are doing, in particular the drop and grow containers, which sound incredible. So yeah, really looking forward to that. Just a reminder before I leave Lily to it, just if you have any questions that you want to put to Lily, it'd be really good if you can put them in the Ask a Question section. If you forget and put it in the comments, we will find it and we will try and get them into the question section for later on. And if we do have loads and loads of questions, Lily's very kindly agreed to hang around for a few minutes afterwards, to finish them up. So great stuff. I hope everyone enjoys it, and I will disappear and leave you to it.
Thank you very much, Mike. Let me just share my slides. Great. Okay, so hi, thank you very much for the introduction, Mike, and thank you to Green Tech Southwest for hosting me today. It sounds like a really cool community, and I'm definitely coming to the future events from now on. So yeah, as was said, my name is Lily. I work as the head of research and development for Lettus Grow. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about using aeroponics and Internet of Things technologies, IoT, to improve local food security and reduce food waste. I'll talk specifically about these things, but I'll also touch on some of the sort of wider issues the global food system inflicts on our environment. But the first question to broach really is, who is Lettus Grow? Oh, well, we are an indoor farming technology company. We were founded in 2015 by 3 University of Bristol students, Ben, Jack and Charlie, who you can see on the screen now. I joined in 2018 in the first hiring round, and I was the first woman to join. I joined straight out of my master's degree in aerosol chemistry, and since then we've grown to be a much larger business, moved to a bigger home in Bristol and built a number of farms, and we've grown our employees to about 30, I think. It has been a crazy, incredible, wonderful journey so far. But we build aeroponic equipment for greenhouses and vertical farms, and design farm management and control software. We are a really interdisciplinary sort of team of plant scientists and engineers and growers, and we work collaboratively to ensure that our technology can better the lives of farmers and improve our food system. We believe quite it's core. Our core belief is that careful innovation, and the key word there is careful, will make the world a better place. And today I'll talk to you about the why and the how we do these things at Lettus Grow. We know that making the world a better place does start from within. So at Lettus Grow, we have a bunch of core values which we apply to all areas of our work, and you can see them on the screen there. We deliver impact, we're caring, we're ambitious, we're open and honest, and we're responsible. And we take them in every area of Lettus Grow, so like our office kitchen down to the work that we do. We're also working towards becoming Beta Corp certified, which means that we hold ourselves to the highest standards of social and environmental performance, meaning we're accountable to balance profit and purpose, basically. And it's something we're really proud of. So our mission is to reduce the waste and carbon footprint of fresh produce by empowering anyone to grow delicious food near its point of consumption. And that's what everything we do at Lettus Grow boils down to. However, unfortunately, currently, the majority of your food is not grown anywhere near where it will be eaten. We can't grow all year round in the UK, so the amount that we can produce fluctuates throughout the year. If you take lettuce, our namesake, as an example, in June, we can be growing as much as 95% of the lettuce that we're consuming in the UK, but in January, we can supply just 5% of what we consume. But even in summer and autumn, harvests are not guaranteed. Extreme weather can and does seriously impact yields of crop that we can produce. In 2019 and 2020, we saw some of the wettest winter conditions ever encountered before moving into one of the driest and sunniest spring months on record. And while that was great for us in lockdown, the implications were felt on fieldwork, crop rotations, and final yields. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see a number of DEFRA statistics released in October of last year, which highlight the disruption caused by the extreme weather events and confirms the effects that it has had on crop performance, and that boils down to crop profitability. You can see, all of the statistics. Some of them, for example, provisional average wheat yield was down 20%, what was 20% when compared with 2019. Oilseed rape planted area fell by 27%, and the harvest was down by 38%. And this is across, a number of crops. They're all quite negative, and we're generally seeing decreases in yields, crop size, and planting area. The uncertainty and risk that these extreme weather events bring carries not just an environmental cost and a social cost, but a massive economic cost. The 2018 heat wave alone is estimated to cost the UK consumer £45 million a week for the next 18 months, or was estimated to, in increased food prices, which are driven by supply shortages. Certain crops saw a 4 times increase in their wholesale prices. Taking lettuce again as an example, in 2018, the UK air freighted something like 30,000 heads of lettuce per week from the USA, I believe from California, because the European crop that we would normally be consuming had failed. From an economic perspective, air freighting lettuce from America is bad news, obviously, but from an environmental perspective, it's also completely bonkers. And these extreme weather events are not isolated incidents. It was announced at the recent UN summit in Poland that, by the Met Office, that extreme weather events are now 30 times more likely to occur due to climate change when compared to 80 years ago. And this, putting it into context, this means that instead of occurring 1 in every 245 years, these environmental and subsequent economic shocks are now likely to occur on average once in every 8 years. For anyone in food supply and processing, this volatility is too much to ignore, just plain and simple. And for us as human beings, it's quite scary. But we believe that indoor farming is one way to address these issues. So indoor farming can help protect crops from difficult climatic conditions, whether that's the sort of standard usual seasonal variation of a crop or the increasing extreme weather events which are brought about by climate change.
Growing within a controlled environment means that you can also protect crops from pests and diseases, as well as an inhospitable environment. And broadly, indoor farms can be split into two categories, vertical farms and greenhouses. Before I delve deeply into vertical farms, I'd like to take a minute thinking about greenhouses. Greenhouses are highly technical pieces of kit. They're far more advanced than the sort of greenhouses we might have in our back gardens. They have controlled temperature and humidity and airflow environments. They have all sorts of high technology, specially formalized glass or plastic materials, which can do incredible things like promote different light spectra at different times of the day. Pardon me. Alongside this kind of tech-heavy method of producing food, they are absolutely huge. They're often on the orders of hectares of magnitude. So there's an area in Spain called Almeria, which is where a lot of our southern Spain, it's quite hot there. It's where a lot of our food is produced. And it's so large, there are so many greenhouses that you can see it from space. It's absolutely colossal. And because of the number of greenhouses and glass houses, the reflectivity of the earth, the albedo of the earth has been changed. And that has, as a consequence, increased the annual temperature in Almeria by 2 degrees all year round. So the scale and the impact of farming is huge. But yeah, it's worth knowing that much of our food is already produced in this way. Tomatoes, lettuce, peppers, you name it. It's probably not grown in sort of, you know, your grandma's farm up the road anymore. It's likely to be grown in a highly technical industrial facility. So what is a vertical farm? Vertical farming is the practice of growing crops in vertically stacked layers. It often incorporates controlled environment agriculture, which aims to optimize plant growth and soilless farming techniques such as hydroponics, aquaponics, and aeroponics. And these basically hydro, aero, and aqua. They're all just ways of optimally converting energy into plant matter and making it happen as efficiently as possible. It's the same way that the sun, the rain, and soil provide these functions. We simulate and emulate them. This is what Lettus Grow is focusing on, vertical farming, and it's how our farms are built. Here you can see what some of our farms might look like, just to give you a bit of an idea. We have rows of crops under LED lights, which give us that sort of gorgeous pink colour. And it's kind of like bunk beds of food production, bunk beds of salad. In the image on the right-hand side, we have 2 crops, which are on the same beds, which is not normally how we would grow, but I just love the image. They are radish and red mustard that we're growing here, and then on the left-hand side, you can see someone in our farm sort of checking up on it and make sure it's going well. These are images of our R&D facility in Bristol, and this is part of some of our ongoing trials. So that's what vertical farming is, but why do we think it's part of the solution to food waste and some of the larger climate issues impacting the food system? I'll try and run you through what I think the benefits are. So the first one would be that we can use 95% less water than field farming. And this is because we have a closed water network, so we can recapture and reuse any water and nutrients which don't get used the first time round. We keep reusing and reusing and reusing our water. And as water becomes a more and more scarcely available resource, that's hugely important. Secondly, we don't need to use pesticides, herbicides, or harmful chemicals because we farm indoors, so we have other alternative pest control measures in place. So for example, you saw the image of the person in the farm. They were wearing a lab coat, they were wearing a face mask and special shoes. That's so they don't carry anything into the farm. We can control the environment. We have control over exactly what comes into contact with our plants, so we can remove the requirement for these chemicals in the first place. And I'm sure many of you know, but this is hugely beneficial. Removing pesticides and herbicides and things is hugely beneficial to local wildlife and insect populations. For example, some of our key pollinators like bees, who are often talked about, how important they are to the food chain. We also don't facilitate any fertilizer runoff into waterways. This ties in with the 95% less water situation. Because we recapture our water, we recapture and we can reuse the fertilizer to grow the next set of crops. This means that we're not only removing the leaching effect of fertilizer into the waterways, which creates algal blooms and decimates local aquatic populations, and I learned recently threatens our chalk streams, of which we have 85% of the global chalk streams in the UK. But yeah, alongside that, because we reuse our fertilizer, we maximize the efficiency of the nutrients, which have their own carbon footprint. We aren't just sending half of it down the drain or into the local river. We use it and use it and use it. So now, one of the namesakes of this talk, growing food closer to the consumer results in less food waste. This is because food is stored for less time, it travels less far, meaning that less is spoiled or damaged in transit. Also, and this is an interesting kind of social point, we see that with greater engagement with where our food comes from, and that happens when you grow locally, with greater engagement, we know it's something that we've noticed during the pandemic, as the inefficiencies in our global food supply chain became really apparent in the form of empty supermarket shelves. We notice where our food comes from. People are starting to question, perhaps for the first time, where has this food come from? And that garners more respect and understanding and community engagement with the food that we're consuming. And as this is becoming more and more important because more and more people are moving into cities. Currently, about half of us live in cities, but by 2050, around 80% of the food that we produce will be eaten in cities. And any way that we can work towards reducing food waste by growing closer to cities is a climate win. Growing in an indoor environment without soil, we take the pressure off of depleted soils and farmland. This is much needed. I don't know how many people here are around in Bristol, but in Bristol we have a number above the bear pit, which ominously predicts the number of viable harvests we have left. This is because we are overusing our soils and farmland, depleting the health of the soil and capping the amount of produce a square of land can grow. Indoor agriculture helps take the pressure off of the arable farming system, so the outdoor farming system, by taking some of the production indoors. The current solution, or one of the current solutions, has been to just create more farmland, and by chopping down forests and sort of naturally populated areas. If we can take the pressure off of our soils, perhaps we can promote rewilding these areas, which would be wonderful. And finally, growing locally reduces the carbon footprint of produce. This is quite sort of a logical, rational argument. This ties in beautifully with the lettuce example from earlier. It's bonkers that we can exist within a system where flying 30,000 heads of lettuce per week to the UK from California is sustainable or acceptable. There has to be another way, which is good for the triple bottom line. If we can reduce our food miles by allowing the consumer to consume beautiful basil all year round without flying it from Kenya, which is where a lot of our herbs are produced, we will have significant impact on the environmental effects from agriculture. And with all of these things combined, we think that indoor farming can help protect our shared planet, which is what we're all about. So how do we do that? How does our technology do this, and what's special about us? We do something called aeroponics. It's a method of growing plants without soil. We irrigate our crops using a nutrient-dense mist instead of submerging them in water, which is known as hydroponics. I think if the video is playing perfectly, you'll be able to see sort of clouds of aerosol wafting around these nice fluffy white roots. Aeroponics allows roots to have a greater access to oxygen when compared with hydroponics, which kind of emulates what roots would have in the soil, where they'd find air pockets in the soil itself. Optimum conditions for roots results in healthier plants, which means higher growth rates and far greater yields. We can grow loads and loads of things in our farms and are constantly trying out new stuff in our R&D centre in Bristol. At the moment, we've grown leafy greens, salad crops, microgreens, alongside some kind of fruiting crops such as strawberries and even tree whips for propagation of trees in nurseries. So that was vertical farming, indoor agriculture and aeroponics. The other part of this talk is about IoT, and that's where I'd like to talk about Astara, which is Lettus Grow's farm management platform. It's a software providing. Astara enables the grower to remotely monitor and manage the growing environment of an indoor farm via their mobile device or tablet. Astara can bridge the gap between farm management software and control software. And by combining them into one program, we can allow a customer or a grower to fine-tune the operation of their farm. Astara gives someone in one place the tools that a grower would need to make really good choices for their farm quickly so that they can optimize their yields. They can monitor their farm and zoom in on the details as well so that no leaf goes unchecked. That's the sort of line. And we do this by controlling a number of things in our farm. We control 4 areas and we call them life. The first one is lighting, which sets up the day and night cycles for your LEDs. So the LEDs emulate sunshine, but obviously much more efficiently and quite close to the plants. And pardon me, you can set up how long they're on and off for. The next one is irrigation, which controls the misting frequency of specific crops, how much nutrients and water you supply the crops and when. The next one is fertigation, which controls the EC, electrical conductivity, and the pH and the amount of nutrients in your farm. This is basically how much and in a chemically optimized state for the crop itself, for the plant. So different plants might like different amounts of nutrients at certain times during their crop growth. And then finally, we control the environment. So this controls the temperature and humidity and even the airflow speeds within your farm. Plants like a certain amount of wind speed, which kind of emulates what they would naturally experience in the field. So controlling each of these things remotely turns your whole farm into an IoT network, which is hugely beneficial. For example, you can reduce your labour costs by performing routine tasks and reduce the need for extra hands on the farm because you've got a number of sensors telling you exactly what's going on in your farm at any one time. You can minimise downtime. Let's say, for example, you left a valve open by accident or closed, and if it went unchecked, it would starve a plant of the nutrients it needs to grow. Astara kind of catches that whenever something unexpected happens or if something goes wrong. Astara can helpfully let you know, even if it's in the middle of the night. And this is a really cool thing that I love about Astara. You can learn from the experts. So we can reduce the barrier to entry to agriculture by instantly connecting a farmer's system to our team of specialists so that they can benefit from all of the things we've learned over the years. So traditionally, growers possess vast amounts of knowledge and skill, which has been garnered and refined over years and years of growing. If we can reduce the barrier to entry and get more people easily inducted to agriculture, we're increasing engagement with farming and possibly helping feed our sort of growing population, which is growing hugely. You can keep track, or the farmer can keep track of what they need to do, manage a whole team of people and schedule all the tasks. Running a farm is not easy. There are multiple points throughout a plant's life cycle which need attention and input, germination, harvest, sowing, and Astara can help you kind of schedule all of these things. And when you use Astara, you get access to crop recipes, which are what we develop at Lettus Grow. We're constantly improving, trialing, experimenting with different life cycles, lighting, irrigation, fertigation, and environment, to try and maximize crop growth rate, which makes the most out of that seed and the resources that you've used to grow that food, by reducing the amount of time the crops spend on beds. You're improving the margins of the farm, of the business, and we do this regularly in our R&D farm with our team of plant scientists and experts. And then finally, an Astara grower could reduce their operational costs by choosing to run lights in the evening, for example, when the energy is cheaper, or by adjusting the day and night cycle. There's loads of other ways to do it. You can change the amount of water that you use, and yeah, all sorts of cool things can help you reduce your operational costs. So that's Astara. We've taken all of those things, the aeroponics, Astara, and our vertical farm design, and packaged them up into a 40-foot shipping container called Drop and Grow, which is really exciting. We have two types of Drop and Grow 24, which has 24 meters squared of growing space and a preparation room for all of your harvesting and sowing and prep activities. And then Drop and Grow 48, which has 48 meters squared of growing, and it's really good for kind of scaling a farm up once you've done the proof of concept stuff. We also design and build larger bespoke facilities above sort of 96 meters squared, and we can do these in sort of utilizing existing barn or sort of warehouse spaces. But yeah, so the beauty in Drop and Grow is the accessibility of vertical farming and the kind of innovation that we provide, which is the aeroponics within a box. And this box can be put anywhere really, so it can have multiple functions. A container farm could be taken sort of center stage in a city and could be used as a showpiece to re-engage the community with the food system. But fundamentally, at the kind of base of it, it's a business in a box which has everything that you need to get started. It's about making it, the entire design ethos is about making it as simple and as accessible as possible, so that a grower can just kick off and start and get operating. Combined with our sort of design, our help, and Astara, from day one, a grower can turn a bit of brownfield, a bit of empty city, into a productive space from like an innovation growing and like a business and a community perspective. Generally, we like to think of Drop and Grow as a kind of stepping stone. So first one is Drop and Grow 24, and then as vertical farming begins to sort of integrate into the mainstream, we allow people not to need a multi-million-pound farm or a greenhouse with hundreds of hectares of growing space. Drop and Grow could be dropped into the middle of a city centre and used in a myriad of ways. So it could be used to supply restaurants or retail, schools, veg boxes, but really crucially, the food can be consumed within a cycle journey of the farm. And that means that instead of growing food for transport to sort of tolerate the 36-hour food transport journey, which is how we grow food right now, we can go back to growing food for taste and nutrition and quality. So for example, for restaurants, you can showcase a product to chefs really easily, and you could change what you grow month on month to match a menu or demand. You can also grow a crop that's totally out of season, where the markup is huge because you wouldn't grow it outside, and despite our best efforts, a seasonal diet is fairly long gone. Another cool application or potential application of Drop and Grow is you could plant it next to a tree nursery and use it to propagate trees. The kind of opportunities are limitless and endless. But all of these cases, these business cases, are showing that there are alternatives to the currently strained food system. And by turning it on its head and presenting the most extreme version of reversing the food supply chain, we're enabling hyper-local growing. And there is a question, naturally, about whether hyperlocal growing fundamentally is a good thing, because economies of scale are efficient, but we think there are several benefits. Firstly, growing locally can add resilience and strengthen community supply from issues within the global chain. Looking at this year, sales of food from community-supported agriculture, where consumers subscribe to receive in-season harvests from a group of UK farmers, increased by 111% from February to April during the first lockdown. And we saw that kind of in the US and China as well. Yeah, it's fascinating. The waiting lists are all sort of still there and growing. Providing community hubs is another example, a place for people to come and connect with each other. Container farms can also be a tool for connecting and educating people about food. And finally, they can stimulate the local economy and support the community with sort of jobs and food. So yeah, Lettus Grow, that's a little bit of a whirlwind tour of everything we do, and I hope it's been interesting to you. We couldn't do this, we haven't done it by ourselves. There's loads and loads of organisations we've used and collaborated with, research organisations like the University of Bristol, commercial organisations like Innovate UK and Centre for Crop Health and Protection, and some technical and delivery ones as well, the Royal Academy of Engineering, etc., etc. But yeah, so Lettus Grow has been sort of looking to enable relationships between growers and their communities to support the next generation of farmers. We want to build partnerships with people and companies who share our vision for food and making a more fair and more connected food future. So if that sounds like you, or if anything I've talked about is interesting to you, please do get in touch with us. Aside from that, thank you for letting me talk to you today. It's been a pleasure. I believe we now have some time for questions.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Lilly. That was absolutely amazing. And if we can get a round of applause or some sort of suitable fruit and veg emojis in the chat, that'd be really good. Yeah, coming in now. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, those drop and grow containers are just ingenious, really, aren't they? You know, I know I'd like one in my garden, but I don't think that's not going to happen.
Definitely.
Fantastic. Well, we've got loads and loads of questions, so we'll do our best to get through a few, and then we are conscious that a lot of people are on lunch breaks, so we will end the event, but you very kindly, as I mentioned before, agreed to hang around and answer some more, so we'll see how many we can get through. So if I'm just going to make you a bit bigger on the screen and join you. Oh. Great stuff. Okay, I'm just going to jump in. So first question is from Niels. Are there limitations to the type of crops you can grow in a vertical farm? So far, I've only seen herbs and lettuce. I think that was asked quite early on because I know you mentioned a few more, but can you talk us through that? Any limitations there?
Absolutely. There are limitations. There are physical limitations, but there also should be sort of limitations that we put in place. So we've grown fruiting crops, we've grown rooting crops, we've tried carrots and berries and tomatoes and all sorts of things. And we're kind of constantly increasing the number of crops, recipes we have available. But indoor agriculture and vertical farming should be looked at to take the pressure off of outdoor arable land agriculture. With agriculture and reducing the climate impact, many solutions need to be combined in order to create a sustainable food future. So we shouldn't be growing potatoes, or we could grow potatoes, but I think they grow very well in the ground. Sort of grain crops like corn and oat, we're not trying them at the moment because they do grow well in the ground, and the ground should be sort of the arable agriculture should be prioritized for those crops, I think.
Great stuff. Thank you for that. This is a really good one from Sarah. Is there an impact on nutritional quality of the food, not just in terms of nutrients, but for instance, there's a link between soil microbiome and the health of the human intestinal microbiome?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So we have actually done some microbiome analysis of our crops, and you can do really clever things with like which bacteria you introduce to your farm in what ways. there is a level of sort of microbacteria which are everywhere, and you know, no matter what your pest control measures are, it's not going to be completely clean. So yeah, that's really important, and it's something that we can sort of emulate and replicate and make as natural as possible. In terms of nutrition and quality, we are getting I think we are doing nutritional analysis at the moment, but in terms of taste, they taste amazing. I think that's probably because when I eat basil grown on our farms, it's been grown there, I've seen it, it's as fresh as it can get. Whereas if I compare that to the basil, which, you know, as I said before, likely comes from Kenya, that's flown a long way, and it's got a long shelf life, and that really impacts on nutrition and quality and taste. So yeah, great question.
Yeah, that's a really good point actually on taste, because that's something that we haven't kind of even thought of, you know, but it's obviously very valid. So
yeah, it tastes great.
Great, that's good to know. One from Hannah. How does the carbon footprint of a lettuce grown by vertical farming compare to, say, a supermarket import from Spain?
So the carbon footprint of food is highly varied, and so dependent on, you know, where it's grown and how it's arrived, whether it's been air freighted or shipped over sea, or land from Spain. And we're working on getting sort of energy uses. Naturally, vertical farming and indoor agriculture uses more energy, which has a carbon footprint, but it's incredibly hard to quantify, because do you account for the carbon footprint associated with generating the nutrients, which then goes onto the land and gets spread, and then most of it, you know, stays on the soil and releases NO2 into the atmosphere? The quantification is really, really difficult, but it's something we're working on and trying to improve as much as we can, basically. It's fascinating. You can go into many a Wikipedia rabbit holes trying to understand the carbon footprint of our food.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One from Kevin. In terms of energy use in hydroponics, water movement and aeration contribute to the energy usage, second only to heat and light. Does aeroponics alleviate much of this energy use, or does the atomization process cancel any saving?
The thing that you can compare, the thing to think about when you're comparing hydroponics and aeroponics is the growth rate. So we've seen an increased growth rate of, I believe, up to greater than 70% increased growth rate when compared to hydroponics. So what that does is it just means you have your crop on the bed for less time. So it's more about understanding how long it took you to use those resources to grow that crop. But the kind of differences in how often you're pumping water around and how frequently you're generating aerosol will have an impact on that. So we're doing a number of studies at the moment, trying to figure out how often we need to supply aerosol, and how frequently that is between in a 24-hour period, how long that takes. But we are also doing a comparative study between a hydroponic system and an aeroponic system. We will release the data as we get it, but we're working on it at the moment.
Great stuff, thanks for that. One from Chris. What are your thoughts on the disconnection of food from the environment? Goes on to say there's interesting research into the nutritional benefits of food grown in a natural soil biome, bacteria, etc. Not just that it's more resilient to environmental threats like pests and climate. He says, while I'm intrigued by your method, I'm nervous of losing the benefits of growing food on the land. Is this just a stopgap while the soil repairs?
Yeah, to that I would say you're completely right. You know, you eat soil, you kind of increase your resilience as a human being. We have an incredibly sterile food system at the moment, and I would say that the majority of food, or a huge proportion of the food that we eat, or the food that is available to us, is grown indoor in a sterile environment anyway. The majority of your tomatoes, the majority of your lettuces, your bell peppers, those sorts of things, then they're not, a lot of them aren't grown in sort of a small farm up the road. A lot of them are grown in a highly technical industrial process way. But yeah, engagement with your food is really important. So understanding where it's come from, you know, looking at your butternut squash and thinking, oh my God, that turned from a seed into a giant vegetable. How much energy and resources gone into that is hugely important.
Great stuff. Just got one more before we invite Hannah back to talk about some events coming up, and we will kind of continue the questions if you're still okay to hang around.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pick one here, which I know a lot of people have asked in the chat, and I actually had written down as well. So what is the energy source for your vertical farms? Also, are there limitations to the type of vegetables that can be grown in that way?
Yeah, so 2 and 1, we'll go one by one.
Yeah.
So the energy sources, I wonder if I can go back a slide. The energy sources that we use, I don't know if anyone can see this. The energy source that we use are renewables. So we can see at the bottom there, we've partnered with Octopus Energy, and we're looking into their tri-band variable tariff. Obviously a renewable energy will increase, source will increase the sort of climate impact of your farm and how you are growing your plants. With the tri-band tariff, what we're looking at is seeing if a farm can modulate its energy use in line with when the grid has or doesn't have energy. So for example, when there's a football match half time, you might turn off your lights for a few hours or whatever it is, to try and kind of stabilize the grid, and using excess energy at night time. So for example, having your lights on at night can, when the grid has surplus energy, can stabilize the grid, which is ultimately good for the environment. What was the second half of the question? Sorry, Mike.
I think that might have been asked actually earlier on, the limitations to the types of vegetables that can be grown in that way.
Yeah, we haven't found the limit yet, but different sort of crops need different types of products. So a vine crop like a tomato or a pepper, or a sort of, they would need a different kind of support system and structure. We're working on figuring out how best to grow them efficiently. But yeah, it's lots of work to be done, but it's all exciting.
Fantastic. No, thank you very much for getting through those. And I know there's been some positive comments on your answers as well. So thanks for that. At this point, yeah, no problem. Obviously, we will bring Hannah back on now just to sort of wrap up the event. But as I say, do stick around if you have the time. We'll get through a few more of those questions, some really good ones left. So thanks again, Lily. And over to you, Hannah.
Awesome, Lily, that was so good. I loved everything especially the intro where you were kind of giving context around the problems with food and the environment, and it was really, really great to hear. And you answered those questions so well. They were so varied, and you were just bang straight in there with the answers. So well done, you. We know that some people have to drop off, so I'm just going to kind of bookend the event so people can go. And then, as Mike said, we'll bring you back on. So, Mike, are you able to make these slides a bit bigger as well if you have the control back there? I'll crack on. So, we had an awesome talk there today. Green Tech Southwest is not just about the talks, it's also about the community and the stuff that happens outside of our events. So one of the things that we like to do is to let you know of other events that we've spotted that we think might be interesting to you. Now, we mentioned at the beginning that we are supported by the Future Economy Network, which is an awesome organisation based here in Bristol, actually at the bottom of Gloucester Road. Excuse me. They have a lot of events. It's definitely worth checking out their website, thefutureeconomynetwork.co.uk/upcoming events. We've picked out a few that we think might be interesting to you. Bristol's Carbon Neutrality Journey, that's on the 28th of January, which I think is a week today. We have one of our members, Ruth Smith, who will be providing a workshop called Boost Your Business Growth in Green Tech. Ruth is brilliant, so that will definitely be worth heading along to. And of course, we're all about tech, so tech innovations for a sustainable future, and that's happening on the 11th of February. And there's tons more events, so it's a really great site for finding out about more places you can learn. Slightly different topic, one that's very close to my heart. My day job is as a web developer. There's another really interesting event also on Thursday, the next Thursday, called Understanding Sustainable Web Design. That's an hour-long Zoom webinar, which will feature Tim Frick, Tom Greenwood and Nicole Hunter, discussing how we can reduce the internet's massive environmental impact. I'll come back to that in a sec. We also have a Set Squared event happening on February the 10th, Wednesday, February the 10th, called Investing in Innovation, and that's sustainable tech. And so that event is an opportunity for founders to hear directly from investors on what their drivers and motivators are for investment. So if you're a founder or an investor, you might well want to head along to that event. Our next event is going to be on Tuesday, March the 2nd, and we're going to be talking all about reducing the environmental impact of websites. So we have Nick Lewis and Dryden Williams, who both hail from the southwest of England, who are going to be talking to us about that topic. That's already got a load of RSVPs, and we haven't really even told anyone about it yet. So we think that's going to be really popular. And if you're interested in that topic, this webinar, which is happening a week today, will also be very relevant and useful to you. So just finishing off, how to stay in touch. So we also mentioned that we're supported by the Climate Action Tech community. I do a lot of work, voluntary work with them. We're a global community of over 3,300 tech sector workers, all united in taking action to tackle climate change. So we're not just developers, we're engineers and marketers and anyone who's working in any kind of tech you'll find in that community. It's a great place to get questions answered and to learn more. So, and we have a local Bristol channel there. So I'd highly recommend checking out the climateaction.tech community if you're looking for a place to learn more about these kinds of topics. Also, please do feedback to us. Mike, Ellen and myself work very hard to make these events the best they can be, but the missing ingredient is always feedback from you, our community. So you will have an email drop into your inboxes asking you to give feedback on the meetup. If you've got time, fill that in. If you want to give us some more sort of wordy feedback, you can always email us at greentechsw@gmail.com. And last but not least, we've already popped this into the comments, so some of you might have seen it. We are very, very proud to have our very own forest. And this is provided by a company called Ecology, who are also based in Bristol. If you've enjoyed today's meetup and you feel like you would like to show your appreciation, Mike, Ellen and I love it when people give us trees. We think that that's the best possible way that anyone that's enjoyed our events can show their appreciation. So you can pop along to ecology.com/greentechsouthwest and click the Add More Impact button. And you can plant trees for just a couple of quid, so kind of like the price of a coffee or a half a pint, actually, because you can't buy a pint for the same price as a cup of coffee these days. So anyway, that's us. If you feel like planting some trees, go ahead. Thank you all again for being a part of our community today. For those of you that need to get back to your day job, we're very stoked that you've joined us. Thank you very much. We're going to bring Mike and Lily back on to run through the final set of questions. In fact, I can see there's like 12 questions to go. So, Lily, you've been very popular today. Anyway, farewell from me. Mike and Lily, I'll pass back over to you.
Thanks very much, Hannah. Cool. Right. Continuing on. So, we've got one from Tim Rawson here. He's curious how vertical farming works at scale. He's from California, and most people out there think it's all beaches and movie studios. It's actually mostly farmland. Is aeroponic farming feasible for large-scale farming, or more geared towards more urban environments?
The answer is in short, yes, it is. Oh, I can hear a bad feedback. Can anyone else? Oh, it's gone down. Cool. In short, yes, there are a number of ways that the technology can be scaled up. Our farm in Bristol is a lot larger than a drop and grow. The drop and grow is designed to sort of be that accessible first stepping stone into aeroponics. There are some really quite large aeroponic farms and huge hydroponic farms around the world. Most greenhouses are hydroponics. And that's where you see the real difference, you know, the economies of scale in terms of like the global food system. The ways that you would do that are putting aeroponics into greenhouses, which is, you know, something we're also focused on. And then also you can make the vertical farms more efficient by sort of adding automation and more sort of high-tech incorporations, which is all very exciting and very interesting stuff to think about. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, getting bigger and better is the goal. Larger farms.
Thanks for that one, Tim. There's a question here from Richard, Helen. Natural root systems are a complex ecosystem of microorganisms working symbiotically with the plants in a soil system. Does aeroponics provide all the nutrient feed from a soil ecosystem?
Yeah, so we're fascinated by this. It's a great question. Kind of touched on it similarly before. We actually we published a research paper a few months ago now called Getting to the Roots of Aeroponic Indoor Farming, trying to understand, you know, a literature review, basically trying to understand what studies have been done and how we can really quantify these different types of agriculture, because they are completely different. Alongside this, we're kind of doing a lot of nutritional analyses. Most of the indoor agriculture, which is done, for example, in greenhouses, uses these very standard sort of nutrient feeds. They're your NPK fertilizers, nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. And then they have a series of sort of micronutrients, which are designed to emulate usually the heavy metal components within soil, like your iron, and all sorts of other bits. And we use those kinds of nutrients and fertilizers. And then we can kind of introduce other elements to different crops if they need them. But it's a great question, and we're still trying to find the answer.
Great stuff. Yeah, thank you for that. This is a really good question from Simon. Roughly what kind of price would a drop and grow be?
Yeah, so we have, the honest answer is I'm very much on the technology side, so the kind of pricing is not something that I'm directly involved with. What I would recommend is going to our website and getting in touch and engaging with our commercial team. They're great, they're really friendly, and they will be happy to answer all of those questions, because we understand that with Drop and Grow, we're providing a business in a box, right? So that the kind of CapEx, capital expenditure, and the OpEx, the operational expenditure, are really important farm economic metrics, which we use when we're designing to understand, you know, how profitable this farm is, because it's got to be profitable. You can't make environmental change without an economic case for it. So yeah.
Absolutely. No, great stuff. Thank you. This is a question from Richard. Do you use enhanced CO2 enrichment in the air in the farm?
Yes, we didn't for a long time. We've got it involved now. You can add all sorts of different gases to your air, which promote different types of growth, flowering, fruiting, all sorts of things. But yes, we have used CO2 before.
Great stuff. Got a question here from Ed. What are the toughest research challenges you've had to overcome so far?
This is a great question. I think this isn't necessarily a research challenge, but it's just the speed that we've been doing everything at has been breakneck, pretty much. You know, Ben, Jack, and Charlie had this idea, and we're now, you know, we've developed so far, and we've got these products, and we're learning constantly. And everyone is of a different background. So I'm an aerosol chemist, and I'm thinking about the design of and build of farms, and that's it's so interesting to be put outside of your kind of traditional area of study and skill set, and just being like working together with engineers and biologists. It's just the kind of the speed and the collaboration, and those are the kind of the biggest challenges, but also the most exciting.
Fantastic, thank you. Question from our very own Hannah. Is Lettus Grow involved with Bristol Bites Back Better campaign, which is aiming to make Bristol a more sustainable food city.
I
a lot on that at the moment.
I am ashamed to say that I actually don't know, but I have definitely seen on our kind of messaging, company messaging Slack, Bristol Bites Back, and it sounds really exciting. So we may well be, but I can't tell you, I'm sorry.
No problem. Question from Andy Hawkins. Have you any example of a container going into a community who grow the crops together, like an allotment?
Yeah, so container farms, there's a couple of other sort of container farms that aren't necessarily aeroponic, and they're doing similar things. We're also working on a couple of things which I can't tell you many of the details about, but we're putting a container into the sort of into an exciting sort of park of developments and innovations, and it will be happening quite soon.
Fantastic, thank you for that. Got a question from Davin. I'm really liking the idea of vertical farms, but I'm curious about the implication of, say, UK not buying heaps of plants from less developed countries who might rely on that export for income.
Absolutely, this is a huge consideration from like a social perspective. There are definitely countries which rely on export of food. A huge part of what I believe the solution to the food system is about empowering people within those countries to sort of have high-tech farms and really sort of robust, strong farming practices, so that you can sort of create industry within that country. And it's such a complicated problem. The food system is insanely complex, and creating a more simple sort of resilient food chain is ultimately going to be a good thing. A huge part of that, not necessarily related to this talk, but a huge part of reducing sort of food inequality is about empowering women to farm in these kinds of countries. So yeah, it's really fascinating area of sort of international development.
Great stuff. Yeah, absolutely. One from Peter, who says he's been suggesting similar concepts all over the world. He said it does obviously require significant reliable energy input. So what's the effect of losing power supply in some of these places? And what's the overall energy balance?
Yeah, absolutely. So losing power is for a farm that's run on power, that's quite important. Essentially what you would do is just send your plants to sleep for 12 hours or whatever their night cycle would be, and sort of make sure you got the power situation back up. We've also been doing other pieces of research about islanded microgrids, having sort of renewable options on site or strategic locations of farms. So if we can put large vertical farms right next to a solar farm, you can stabilize that solar farm and sort of take energy directly from that solar farm before sending the power onto the grid. So yeah, it's a great question. Diesel generators would be the evil equivalent, but any sort of renewable would be great. And in terms of the energy balance, we have power meters and consumption meters in our farms, and we are constantly sort of figuring out how much energy we're using and figuring out the most efficient way to use our power.
Brilliant, very good stuff. We've got a couple of questions coming up on food waste. So firstly from Lookman, how do you measure veggie demand? If only bulk supermarket requests were considered, what's the likelihood of actually oversupplying food, hence increasing food wastage probability?
Yeah, you can, this is really interesting. So you can kind of do like reactive demand to food. So you can, because you've got such a short supply chain, if, for example, you had a farm right next to a supermarket, you've cut out the grower, the wholesaler, the distributor, and then you've gone straight to the retailer, which is the supermarket. So your supply chain is a lot shorter, so it can be a lot more reactive. That's not in the sort of hyper local case of drop and grow where you're like supplying directly to a school, and in the school summer holidays you would just stop production sort of 2 weeks before. But yeah, it's really interesting about sort of demand, and there will always be food consumed, and food consumption is generally quite stable. So yeah, it's much more able to be reactive when you've got a sort of smart farm, essentially.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Good one from Dominic. Do we need to increase production? Would it not be better to reduce waste?
Absolutely, yeah. So a third of all food we produce is wasted, and that's absolutely colossal, especially when you consider that we've got, I think it's about 820 million people who go hungry each year. I mean, that's staggering. It's ridiculous. If agriculture was a country, it would be the third largest emitter of emissions in the world in comparison to all countries. And then you consider that we're wasting a third of that, it's absolutely nuts. Part of growing locally is about re-engaging with your food. The majority of food is wasted in developed countries, and a lot of it's wasted at home. So if you have your butternut squash and you know where it's come from, and you can kind of engage with your food and respect how much energy's gone into growing that, I hope that people are far less likely to waste their food, which will mean it will be more equitable and fair for the world.
Yeah, I'm sure that's very much the case of when people sort of grow their food on allotments, and you actually put your heart and soul into it. I think you're not going to throw it away so easy. So yeah, thank you for that. The final one, it is a very short question. It says pollination ? So it'd be great if you could maybe talk around pollination and how that is affected by what you're doing.
So pollination inside our farms can be done in many ways, right down from increasing the airflow of the farm, the airflow within the farm to sort of generate the pollen and make it sort of fly around. Or in smaller farms, you can go around with a paintbrush and sort of self-pollinate plants, but that's not very efficient. Some farms also use natural pollinators that they take into the farm itself. So like a special type of bee that pollinates that plant, you'd let them loose in the farm and they'd have a field day, for a great pun. But yeah, it's really interesting sort of pollinating crops within a tightly controlled environment.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for getting through all of those. And I feel like we've learned so much about vertical farming, and it just sounds really cool, and obviously solves so many problems. So I really hope it does sort of take off and continue to have success with everything, all the projects that you're involved in. So thank you very much again for coming to tell us all about it. And thanks everyone for hanging around. We've almost half the people are still here, which is great. So thank you very much for coming along. As Hannah said, you're more than welcome to join us on the next one. We will be doing a wrap up. Ellen will be posting various links and the answers to the polls, Lilly slides, and everything else will come onto the meetup event, hopefully later today. So in the meantime, thanks very much, Lilly, again. Do stay in touch, and we'd love to have you back in the future. And everyone else, thanks again for coming, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.